Happy Sunday, beautiful humans. I am Ahomna here to bring you this live experience on Instagram. So when you join me, say hello. Let me know where you're at in the world. And if you are watching this replay, drop into the comments #replay so that I know you are here watching the replay and I can tune into the comments with you after. So as you come in, let me know where you are at in the world and what is on your heart today. What is on your heart today? What is on my heart today is dopamine. And I want to come in and talk about dopamine and the hits that we get from social media and from absorbing free content online, whether that is this video or scrolling the feed or joining a free masterclass or a free training or binging someone's YouTube content or Instagram feed. Whatever it is, when we are navigating the reality of what we are giving for free, we get this dopamine hit, right? And this dopamine hit gets us super excited, it gets us super motivated, it gets us really inspired and ready to take action and all the amazing things that we feel when we are getting this dopamine hit. Then when we get off of the live call, when we stop watching the video, when we get off the social media, when we leave the live free masterclass or event, right? I did a live event 2 weeks ago now. When we leave that live event, the Worthy Woman event, and we go through the next hour or so of our day, that dopamine that we got from the live experience or from the social media scrolling starts to wear down. And that immediate feeling of like, yes, I can take action, I can do the thing, I'm really inspired, I'm really activated, I'm ready, I'm here to show up, I'm feeling it, I'm resonating with it, this is it, starts to fade away. And we feel less motivated to act, to show up and do the thing that we felt inspired and activated to do when we were watching that live video or we were participating in that live masterclass. This is really important for us to understand because then we can start to take the pressure off of ourselves when we do not act. Because when we do not act, following, when the dopamine has faded, we do not act because of a feeling of unworthiness, right? So that initial hit of dopamine that we get is like, yes, I feel it. I feel worthy. I feel amazing. Dopamine makes us feel so good. Makes us feel unstoppable, like we could do anything. That is the beauty of our feel-good hormones. And it also creates a temporary band-aid to the deeper feelings of unworthiness that will actually stop us once that dopamine has faded away. So once you get off of that free masterclass or stop watching this video or scrolling social media, all the different things that produce that adrenaline, that dopamine, that excitement, that motivation, that inspiration, and it comes time to act, and that dopamine is no longer creating an artificial band-aid over the deeper feelings of unworthiness, and we don't take the action. And then when we don't take the action, we start to blame ourselves, to think poorly about ourselves, to think of ourselves in a negative lens that actually continues to feed that story of unworthiness. It feeds that story of I'm not good enough, or I don't take action, or I'm not motivated, or I can't do this, or I'm a procrastinator, or I worry too much, or I don't know if I'll be able to do it. Right? All these different ways that this story shows up, and it is going to show up in every new thing that we step into in our lives, because something that we've never done before, we don't actually truly know if we can do it until we do it. Though I will say to you that if it is on your heart, if it is an inspiration that is coming through you, and you are following that inspiration, you are following your heart, you are following that impulse of destiny, then you were born to do that very thing. Yet because you have not physically done it before, it can feel like, maybe I can't. Maybe I can't do this thing. Maybe you probably don't know how to do this thing in the beginning, right? So if we don't actually know how to do it, it then continues to feed that feeling of maybe I'm not good enough at this thing. So dopamine can be a very empowering substance to have coursing through our bodies, right? Because it can help us to feel that motivation, feel that excitement, feel that inspiration. And that's really ultimately why we sign up and work with mentors, work with coaches, sign up for programs, because in those programs, we get that consistent dopamine hit. We feel good. We feel motivated. We have someone holding us accountable. We have someone cheering for us. We have someone holding up a mirror telling us that you can do this, because they are the living embodiment of doing it. So it keeps the dopamine flowing. But the reason why we don't actually take action, and why a lot of master classes and these live training webinars and these sales marketing tactics of, doing the recorded webinar and getting to the end and really pushing for the sale in that moment, which is not my style, is because they know psychologically that you have that dopamine flowing through your body in that moment. And at the moment that you get off that live call, that dopamine is going to be dwindling. And as it dwindles, you are going to be less likely to take action. And you are less likely to take action after the dopamine has faded, because there are these deeper feelings and fears within that you will not be able to do it, or you will not know how to do it, or maybe now is not the right time, or maybe you don't have enough money, or maybe there isn't, there's other priorities, or maybe, for me, one of the big things has been a concern about my health and about, whether or not if I say yes to this thing, there's a very real fear that I may have a seizure, or that I may pass out, or that I may have a panic attack, or whatever it is that is my work to push through, my medicine to push through, that says, oh, maybe my body is not ready. Maybe I'm not worthy of this. I can't step fully into this next big thing that I know in my heart is what I am here for, right? So every time we are going to step into something that is new for us, that is moving us in that direction of our big, beautiful vision, right? We are going to navigate this journey of feeling that unworthiness come up in all the different little ways. And it's not going to come up necessarily and say, you're not worthy. It's going to come up as thinking you don't have enough money, thinking you don't have enough time, thinking you don't know enough, and instead you go and start reading all the books to try to learn the thing, because really you're thinking, oh, I'm not smart enough, I don't know enough about this subject, I'm not educated enough, I don't have a degree in this, whatever the thing is, it's saying, I'm not worthy. Right? These are all different ways that worthiness story comes up, because whenever we do not take action, and we know that we want to take action, right? We want that thing. We want that relationship. We want that love. We want that profession. We want that trip. We want that experience. We want that connection. We want that opportunity. We want it in our heart. So whenever we want something in our hearts and we do not take action, there is a story of unworthiness that is keeping us from that action. And that dopamine can be really great at masking that story and at actually helping us to move through it, to experience it. Dopamine is really powerful in that way, because it can allow us to then cultivate that dopamine experience and take the necessary steps to move towards the thing that we know in our heart is for us, and to prove to ourselves that we are actually worthy of it, that we are actually do actually know enough. We are worthy of that love and of that experience and of that recognition and of the responsibility. Right? The responsibility of what this new experience means for us. Because that's a big one, right? claiming the responsibility. It typically comes down to not knowing if we can hold the energy, which is not knowing if we can hold the responsibility of what this next version of our success, of our love, of our abundance, of our opportunity is going to mean. Because every next expansion requires a new degree of responsibility, right? You become responsible for more. You have to hold more. And it is going to be more than we've ever held before, if it's something we've never done before. So we sit with, can I hold this? Can I hold this much energy? Can I hold this much responsibility? Will I show up? And then what ends up coming up when we ask ourselves, will I show up? What comes up is a list of skewed memories. Touch on that in a moment. Skewed memories that highlight all the times when we did not show up, when we did not make the change, when we did not feel worthy of love, when we said yes and invested the money and did not show up to do the work. And I say skewed memories because if you've taken my Fearlessly Express program, where we learn about how our brain really is functioning and operating to maximize our creative capacity here and to also heal neurological trauma, we talk about how our memory, because our brain only has a certain amount of energy that it can use, and it's prioritizing and at all times prioritizing its energy resources, the memory gets compartmentalized and fragmented, and we only share parts of it. We only save parts of it. And then we pull that memory back. We pull it back, the parts of it back that we saved, and then we take whatever current perspective we're in and we filter those parts and we put them back together, this memory back together, through the perspective that we're currently in. So if we're sitting in a perspective that says, I don't know if I'm going to be able to hold this level of responsibility, when we pull back memories of periods in the past when we have made similar choices, we are going to piece the picture back together underneath the perspective lens of, I don't know if I can do this. So we will remember that memory as validation to the story of unworthiness, that I don't know how to do this. And this beautiful magical thing happens in changes and shifts when we are actually in the embodiment of our worthiness. And we are in a dopamine high, getting inspired, getting excited, getting turned on by this next level of our vision and of our impact and of our creative potential and of what our business could expand into, and knowing this thing that we just consume this content, got the dopamine hit, join the masterclass, got the dopamine hit, watch this live video, got the dopamine hit, and we are feeling it, and we are feeling like this is a yes. This is what is going to help me to claim this beautiful thing here that I'm saying yes to. More of my worth, more of the love that I'm here for, more success, more abundance, more time, more pleasure, right? Whatever it is, we get that inspiration, right? And in that moment, if we take the memories and we pull up memories, I want memories of all the times when I acted and I said yes and I showed up, and I know that I'm going to show up this time because I'm choosing it. I'm letting myself choose that. And we take that and we pull that memory in now from this perspective that we're in, where we can do it. We are going to remember the past differently. We are going to filter that memory to validate how we feel right now. This is the power of our co-creation, right? Understanding that we are not manifesting things. We are co-creating things. We are creating within and without. We are creating with the divine, and we are creating within ourselves. And when we understand how our operating system functions, right, how our brain functions, how our nervous system functions, how our spirit body functions, how our emotions function, how all of the systems and organs of our body function, we can utilize that awareness and harness the power of the moment of dopamine, right? To activate and to align us and move us towards what it is that our heart is calling for. Even if we don't know somewhere within ourselves if we are worthy of it yet, right? So what does this look like, right? You take in some content that is going to get you motivated and inspired, because guess what? You can do it. You are worthy of it. There's no reality, there's no space, there's no time where you are not worthy of your destiny. And I like to tell people that you are not so special that you are the one person on the planet who is not worthy of your destiny. You are the one soul of the hundreds of trillions of souls that created a destiny that they were not worthy of. You are not that special, right? No one is. Everyone is truly worthy of the destiny that they curated and cultivated before they came into this life for them to experience in this life. Like, you created it perfectly. So you are worthy and you can do it. So you let yourself absorb the dopamine hit of whether it's this video or the masterclass Worthy Woman or something that you're watching on YouTube or whatever it is. You let yourself consume and feel that dopamine. And you take into yourself, like, what does this mean for me now? What area of my life, right? This video is about your worthiness, right? So what area of my life right now am I choosing to step into, to expand into? Maybe it's my business. Maybe it's my relationship. Maybe I'm calling in a partner, a lover, a husband, a wife, whatever it is. Maybe I'm calling in a deeper connection with God's source. Maybe I'm calling in more money than I've ever held before. Maybe I'm calling in new opportunities for work or a new place to live. And maybe I'm calling in a big, beautiful house that I've never experienced this kind of house before on this beautiful mountain that really feels like home. And that is a huge expansion. And it's way more expensive than anything you've ever rented before or bought before, right? Calling that in. Right? Calling in, right? What is it that I'm calling in that some part of me is still worried that I'm not gonna do it? I'm not gonna show up. I'm not gonna do the thing. Maybe in the past I procrastinated. Maybe in the past I didn't show up. Maybe in the past I made a huge investment and it didn't work out. Yeah, because that happens. That happens. And that moment does not define this moment. That moment is done, so we have to be in this moment. And in this moment, we get to co-create what we want to experience in the next moment. So in this moment right now, we take that, we recognize what it is that we are expanding into. We see what story is in there that has us not feeling worthy of it yet. We let ourselves get into a dopamine high. Like right now, we keep feeling good. We get our heart pumping, right? You open up your heart. You bring all of that energy into your heart. You get it flowing in your gut. You get that serotonin flowing in your gut, where you get your body feeling good. You get inspired by someone. You get activated by someone. And you take that moment, that story of what it is you're wanting to create, and you take all the past memories that have previously served to validate the story of unworthiness, and you remember them from the state of your dopamine high. You remember them from the state of you being activated and inspired and soul turned on by life. And you remember them differently. You remember all the things you did do, all the steps you did take, all the times that you did show up, all the moments you said yes and it worked out. You remember all the experiences where you took huge leaps of faith and it did work out. Because I bet you there are dozens of things that you've tried that haven't worked out. And I bet that there are a few very important key leaps of faith that you took, that you invested in yourself, that changed your entire life. Those are the things that we remember when we are drenched in our worth and we are in an experience of dopamine. And those are the feelings that we want to hold in our body so that we can say yes and actually take the action once the dopamine has faded. Because that is where the real growth, the real change, and the real transformation happens. It happens after the dopamine has faded, after you're off that masterclass, after you've gotten off social media or off that live video, and after the dopamine levels have gone back down to neutral and your body's in homeostasis, and you now have to act. You don't have to sign up for the thing. Invest in the mentor. Sign up for the after school program. Go to the volunteer space. Make the phone call. Sign up for the dating app. Whatever it is, whatever you're calling in. Enter into a new group on Facebook and introduce yourself. Right? Put yourself out there. Be vulnerable. Be seen. Be loved. Be heard. Show up. Right? That is where people expand. So many people sign up for free events or are watching and consuming free content to learn and grow on social media, and they're getting those dopamine hits, and they are feeling super ignited, super inspired, excited, and they don't immediately take action, right? They think they're going to do it because in the dopamine high, you think you can do it on your own. You're like, yeah, I feel so fucking good. I can do this. Air punching, karate chopping, troll magic, throwing glitter. You're like, I can do this. I don't need any help. I feel so inspired. I got this. Yeah, life is working for me, because that's what dopamine does. Life is working for me. And then you get off that masterclass, and that you don't take the action immediately because you think you can do it on your own. And you're like, I got this. Yeah. I love air punches. And then the dopamine fades. And you're like, what was it that I said I was going to do? What was that action I was going to take? What are those steps that they told me I needed to take on that call? Shit, I don't even remember them now. And I didn't write them down because I was so jacked up on dopamine. I believed in myself. And now I can't remember. And now I'm not going to take action. So I'm just going to wait for the next dopamine high, the next free event, the next free masterclass, the next free podcast where someone is helping me to reclaim my worth, to feel good, to feel motivated, to feel inspired, and I'm gonna act that time. The pattern just continues. Continues and continues and continues. And dreams don't come true. Dharmas don't get lived. Purposes don't get activated. Missions don't get completed. Right? People have regret. Right? I don't want a single person watching any video that I ever put out into this beautiful world that we are on to have regret. That is my wish for all of us. That we live a life where we can boldly claim the big vision and have no regrets. That we say the things that we want to say. That we do the things we want to do. That we show up and we achieve our mission. So we have a saying, right? We talk about this 1% of people that live their dreams, that are successful, are having the life that they want. And maybe it looks that way even sometimes too. But in reality, why is it such a small percentage that our brains have focused in on? And honestly, use that as a way to validate our unworthiness. That program, that story, only 1% of people are at this level of success. Only 1% of people are at this level of power and authority and whatever it is, leadership. That story is built off the core wound that humanity is carrying of feeling unworthy. Because it validates it. It validates that story. Oh, well, I'm not of this 1%. I can't do it. I won't ever, become the president or become a leader or make millions of dollars or travel the world or open up big new schools that, teach children magic and teach children about their superpowers and all the different beautiful things that your soul is calling in. Because a lot of the stories that we have created and that we have validated throughout space and time are built to continue to lift up this core wound of unworthiness. That is how this beautiful reticulating activating system of your brain that is in your pons back here in your reptilian brain operates. Call it the RAS, reticulating activating system. It stores your core programs. It stores that core program that is embedded into humanity. This is a collective program. This is not just you holding this program. You are not the only person on the planet that has felt unworthy of something that you are calling it. Everyone has. I would bet whatever it is, if I was a gambler, I don't even know what you bet these days. I would bet something that every single person on this planet at some point in their life will feel that story of I'm not worthy of this. Because it is a core program. And it is in our reptilian brain, which is the oldest part of our brain. It is the first part of our brain that is developed in this life, and it is the oldest part of the human species brain to have been developed. Right? Developing our prefrontal cortex is actually a newer evolution of the human species, and we have barely scratched the surface of our brain's full potential. So our base operating program, we're going into a little tangent here about our brain for a moment, right? Our base operating program, especially when we are living in survival, when we are living in a flight or fight response, when we are living out of sympathetic dominance because we are not feeling safe, and we are living in what's called protection mode of the brain and the nervous system, we shut down our prefrontal cortex and energy gets directed to the reptilian brain, okay? To these ancient programs. These ancient programs that are designed to ultimately protect us, keep us alive, allow our bodies to survive. It has allowed humanity to evolve. They're not bad or wrong. They are outdated though, right? We developed this core belief that we were not worthy in order to keep us safe during the development of the patriarchy during the fall of Atlantis, right? We developed this because it was no longer safe to shine our light in this world, to be the supernatural, powerful co-creators that we were, to be wielding our magic, to be spontaneously healing, to be speaking in light languages and connecting with beings from all over the galaxies and flying, telecommunicating with people, all these different abilities that we once had. It was no longer safe to be in that embodiment. So we had to dim our light, right? We developed this safety mechanism to dim our light, which when you dim your light, you stop feeling worthy. You stop feeling worthy because your full light is not shining. Your full soul is not in your body. Your soul is your true worth. It is not the ego. Like the ego is the epigenetic overlay. It is the virus that keeps us playing small. Right? So in that narrative, then, we develop this pattern to keep us safe. So when we are operating with these base primal reptilian brain functions in survival mode, we are going to be running that story of unworthiness, and it's going to show up in our lives. And this is what the majority of people are running, which is why we have this narrative that 1% of people achieve their dreams. Because that is how it's been. And that was how it was devised to be, created to be, to keep people separated, to create this artificial reality of hierarchy, domination, control, manipulation, all the things that are plaguing humanity today, right? So this process that I'm sharing right? It's so important to realize and understand how your body works in this way, because then it can make sense to you if you are someone who is facilitating opportunities for people, right? Facilitating live videos, live masterclasses, and you're like, why are people not actually taking action? Why are people not showing up? If it doesn't feel right for you to sit there and do the dopamine high selling at the end, right? When they're like, okay, this is it. This is the opportunity. You have to buy right now. You have to do the thing right now. You have to show up right now. You got to pressure. There's limited time, that's gauging on the dopamine that people are in when they're in that live transmission with you. And that is a classical selling method because of the psychology of how dopamine works in your body when you're operating in these ways, right? And that's not going to feel aligned for everyone. That is not my style. When I do a free masterclass, like, I am delivering you value. I am sharing with you a full, clean transmission that could have been paid for, right? It is not let me do this to sell this. It is let me deliver powerful content to an intimate community of people who want it, right? Which is where the registration for that comes through. And I sell in it, right? But not from this space of this, do this right now, go buy right now. It's like, hey, this is available here. Because I want people to come into my space who are willing and brave enough to override the feeling once the dopamine fades. The people who will say yes once the dopamine fades. And you have to convince yourself to be this person at first. And you have to be honest with yourself and with whoever it is you are inviting in to mentor you and coach you about how you have previously shown up after the dopamine fades. Like, I sign up and then I don't do this thing, and you want to work with someone who is going to keep you and hold you accountable. This is where our boundaries come in. This is where high-level mentorship is incredibly valuable. To have someone who will hold you, and if you are honest with them about, this is my pattern, they can help you with that. They can help you, once you've said yes, to keep saying yes, to keep pushing forward. Because once you've cracked the code of how to take action after the dopamine is faded, you will be unstoppable. That is the most challenging part, and it is the most rewarding part. And once you actually say yes to the thing, this is why being in high-level mentorship is super empowering, because they can keep you moving towards your goal, and you do get a dopamine hit when you're working with your mentor. You get inspired, you get activated. This is why having access to people, when I run courses, we have a Telegram thread, and people can leave voice notes and get that inspiration and get that excitement and get that motivation consistently if they use it. You have to use it. Show up for it and invite people into it. Okay. So my reflection, to just wrap this up and go back to that little exercise that we talked about maybe 10 minutes ago, right? When you are knowing the next thing for you to step into and are having that feeling of unworthiness show up through the stories of, I don't have enough time, or enough money, or enough opportunities, or enough knowledge, or potentially it can go even deeper and say, I am not, I don't look like the other people who are in this level of success, or, I'm not willing to show my body in certain ways, or whatever it is. Like, there's a lot of deep, deep layers that are showing up in all these different ways that this unworthiness story is manifested. Right? So when that shows up, you want to get yourself into the dopamine. You want to get into that masterclass in that moment and know that you are going to say yes. Know that you are going to say yes. For me, I will share a little personal experience, like the classical way that people sell. They want to have you on this call, describe all these things, all the jazz. I am not here for it, mainly because I know that call is going to give me a dopamine high. And I know before I get on a call if I'm going to buy. Right? I don't even need the call. fuck the call. Let me buy. Because I don't want to make choices from that dopamine high. I want to know that something is for me. If I sign up for something that's free because I want that thing, I want to feel worthy. I just signed up for this free training that I did earlier today that was like helping people to perfect their speaking to land TEDx. Like, that is me. I am going to be speaking on TEDx stages in the year 2023. Like, that is what I'm claiming. And when I signed up for that, I knew they were going to be offering something to me. I know I already want to buy it. I did not need to watch the training, yet I was going to take everything from that training because there was a lot of value in it as well. And knew that, okay, if I'm going to sign up for this for free because this is what I actually want and I'm going to say yes to this, then I need to be the type of person who is willing to invest afterwards in that very same thing. Because when we are constantly, this is the thing, okay? So this is another co-creation piece here. When we know we are meant for something, and we know that there is this thing that keeps coming up that is stopping us from claiming it, and it always comes back to unworthiness, right? And we keep sending a message to our soul, to the universe, to God, to source, to whatever language you resonate with, to the quantum field, that I am only willing to invest nothing into this. I am only willing to do this if it's free. I'm not actually willing to invest any energy into this. That message that gets sent out says, I don't actually really want this. Because I'm not willing to actually invest any energy into it. I say I want it, and then I show up for the free thing, and then another free thing, and another free thing. And I just keep sending this message that I only want it if it's going to be free. I don't actually want to give any energy into this. That is sending a message that I don't actually really want it. Or I'm not actually really ready. Or I'm not actually willing to do what it takes to actually claim this for myself. Once you understand these mechanics, you can consciously know that this is happening, right? Know that these dopamine hits are coming. Know that you sign up for something for free because you actually want that very thing. And you know that very thing is going to help you get to the next point of your journey. And then know afterwards that if you don't act, that dopamine is going to fade, and you probably will less likely be willing to act in the future once the dopamine fades. And then it's going to just continue on with this inaction. And then you'll find the next free thing that shows up. And you just keep sending that same message. And it never lands, and you're like, why is this never landing? I'm showing up for all these free things. I get the dopamine hit, I feel it, and nothing happens, right? So if you recognize that those things are happening, this is where your conscious co-creation comes in. You know how it operates, know the pattern, and you choose to be a pattern interruption, right? So for me, at the beginning of these, consultation calls that I don't personally do in my business, but other people do in theirs that I'm working with, my mentors and teachers, they do them. I get on the call and I say, hey, I am ready to buy. This is what I want, and I'm willing to do what it takes. Now, instead of me proving myself to you, you show me what you can do to really let me know that you are the person that's going to help me to unlock this, right? Instead of I'm not really sure if I want this. If I'm not really sure if I want something, I do not waste anyone's time by showing up to anything, right? Because I know how this dopamine energy works. So know what you want, know how the dopamine energy works, claim it, show up for it, take those actions to co-create, because you recognize that if you don't, you know the pattern, you know the cycle. right? So co-creation really locks in when you recognize patterns and you choose to be a pattern interrupt. I talk about this in my book, Creator Consciousness, about being a pattern interrupt. If you've not read this book, it's available on Amazon. Creator Consciousness, go type it in, Ahomna. If you need help finding the link, send me a message or comment in the chat below book, and I will send you the link to Creator Consciousness. But it talks about being a pattern interrupt and how pattern interrupters are the ones who activate their dream life and who then go beyond it and experience life beyond their wildest dreams. This is true co-creation. Right? This is the real magic of your soul. It's not manifestation and having things like through spell casting come to you. Right? It is claiming what is yours, recognizing the physiological, energetic, and deep primal programs of the human species that would stop you from saying yes, stepping forward, choosing to interrupt them because you know how they show up now after watching this video, and step into the support, the mentorship, the accountability, the program, the rite of passage that is going to help you stay committed past the dopamine hit, to send the message to the universe that I am truly committed and I am willing to put my life, on this. When I started my business in, 2013, I started it while working still for someone else. And I built like a meetup group of 400 people. It was in Los Angeles and was working with people one-on-one out of my apartment. And then I had group classes, and it was not fruitful, right? It was not really providing me the financial resources to live in LA, which is a very expensive place to live. So I was continuing to work in restaurants whilst, starting my YouTube channel, starting all these things, getting more certifications, doing all the things that I thought I needed to do. What actually finally made this shift for me was when I said, this was when Saturn came in, truly my Saturn return began, and I donated everything I owned except for the clothes that I needed, and started living in my car and going into the forest. And I remember having conversations with my father because he was very unhappy. There was he came out to Los Angeles and said that there was conversations in my family about having me committed to a mental institution because I must have lost my damn mind. And I said, I have lost my mind, and I can't expect you to understand because God didn't give you my vision. And I know this was my absolute commitment. I knew in that moment that I would rather be homeless and have nothing than work at anything other than my vision, right? I would rather do my vision for free, living out of a car in the forest, homeless for the rest of my life, than work for someone else to try to fit into someone else's narrative. I was so committed to this working, to my passions coming to life, to my business forming, to me being able to serve through my gifts, that I was willing to risk everything. And I said, I will never work for anyone again. And I am willing to be homeless, to have nothing. That is how committed I am. I am risking my life on this dream. And the universe conspires and responds to that level of commitment. Now, it doesn't need to be so extreme. I've got a lot of Scorpio in my chart, so we like to do things on the extreme. It can be the taking the risk of investing in the program, or hiring the mentor, or going on the retreat, or traveling to the country that your soul feels so deeply there's something there for you, which I've done all those things as well. Okay. We have to be the living embodiment of the commitment that it takes to truly break through the deep, profound, this is a collective story line of unworthiness that has kept 99% of people from living their dreams. That is a massive energy to override. It takes support. It takes commitment. It takes a fierceness. And it takes you being brave enough to say yes past the dopamine hit. So my loves, if you liked this video, if you found it inspiring, do heart it, do share it, do help get this message out. I have a program coming up. It is called Worthy. We are beginning very soon, mid-October. It is a 6-week rite of passage that is going to be bringing you through the real work in your body to override, overcome these unworthiness patterns and to step boldly, powerfully into your worth. This is a program that is just for women at this time, so it is a sisterhood. We are going to be doing some really deep work on our bodies in sisterhood circles, fasting on rows. It's going to be so powerful, so transformative, and I invite you to go to the link in my bio to learn more, or just send me a message, because I love to just talk to you about it as well and really feel into if this is the right space for you. Sending you all so much love. Peace and blessings, everyone. I will see you again soon.